course, the one that has caught our attention for about a week now is to do with the killing of a 90-year-old woman in Kafaba in the Savannah region. That story is still making headlines this week. So let's start with that and see how the newspapers and the websites captured it. Let's go to City Newsroom. And it says 5 suspects in Kafaba lynching remanded. Still with City Newsroom, Garmanche condemns lynching incident, demands expedited justice for Ikea Denta. Still with City Newsroom and Sana Institute, others petition Nanado to close healing center for alleged witches in Boku. Daily Graphic, lynching of 90-year-old woman, Kafaba chief arrested, 13 others on the run. President describes action as barbaric. Daily Guide, Kafaba chief arrested over witch killing. Still on that matter, let's go to Daily Graphic, see how they capture that story. They say lynching of 90-year-old woman, IGP dispatches homicide team to hunt killers. The Finder says justice for murdered 90-year-old woman crucial. One Ghana movement speaking over there. And let me take you to the New Publisher to see how they capture that story. They say Kafaba lynching, witch hunters missing. Another story that made headlines was to do with the outdooring of the NDC's vice presidential candidate. So let's see how media outlets capture that story. Let's start with City Newsroom. They say, my support for Munche 3, not an endorsement of the actions. Professor Opoku-Agyeman speaking. Still with City Newsroom, Professor Opoku-Agyeman caught support of Commander residents Ashito Central Region. And City Newsroom again, Professor Opoku-Agyeman can still do the job without economics background. This is Dr. Kwesi Botre speaking. The Chronicle says, I'll make good case for John and Jane ticket. Professor Opoku-Agyeman speaking. The Herald says NDC running mate to focus on human capital development. Vice presidential slot not preserve of economist. Professor Kwesi Botre. The Ghanaian Observer promised to pay DKM men's gold customers. Baumia Blas Mahama says 82 financial institutions collapsed under JM. And we wrap up with the Daily Post, which says we have chosen the path of peace and inclusiveness. Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman speaking. Another issue that made some headlines had to do with the activities of illegal miners. And let's go to City Newsroom because they have a story on that. Western region, hundreds of galamseyers resist attempt. Still on City Newsroom, Western region, Grill laments takeover of its lands by galamseyers. And then we close with the Chronicle, which says DCE defies presidential order. Galamsey is our source of livelihood. So those are some of the big stories captured by the various media outlets. Let me go to another story that also made some headlines this week to do with the Auditor General. And let's go to City Newsroom. Says Supreme Court strikes out injunction against acting Auditor General. And then let's go to Joy News Online. It says locks to Auditor General Doblevo's office changed while on leave. So 4 stories there. One to do with the Auditor General, the other to do with illegal miners, the third to do with the vice presidential nominee for the NDC, and then the first, of course, to do with the lynching of the 90-year-old woman who was accused of being a witch. Let me introduce my guests for today. I have Samuel Atamensa. He's with City FM and City TV. Samuel, welcome.
Thank you. And
then I also have Salomado, new head of features and articles here at City FM and City TV. Salam, welcome.
Thank you, Vivian.
Okay, so guys, let's start with this lynching matter, very gruesome murder of a 90-year-old woman. You would have thought that some of these cultural practices that we have been, you know, expunged in our cultural settings, but it appears it's still in there. Sometimes you are old enough I think you should start the conversation on this matter, on these cultural practices and the fact that they are still in our settings thinking that we would have done away with them. You saw the video. Were you able to watch the full thing?
I actually don't know which one would be the full thing, but I saw one repeatedly, which would be about 15 to 25 seconds.
Okay, the bit where they were confronting her made her lie on the floor.
Yeah, and this dark, not so good looking woman beating the old lady, you know. Yeah. And she was in some brown, dirty shirt.
Very dirty
and beating the old lady.
Yeah.
Just beating and feeling very good about it, you know. But you blame her? You can't blame her. I mean, she's so wrong in doing what she's doing, but she was doing it with a certain knowledge that is the way to go. Yeah. And that's how life, you know, should be lived. That's, you know, literally picking the scripture that says, suffer not a witch to live. And so if the Bible says, suffer not a witch to live, then they should just, you know, deal with literally. But, I mean, I think the outrage has been tremendous. Nationwide condemnation of the act. But, you know, kudos to whoever recorded it. Because first somebody was, and they were standing there recording. And the question is, if they had not recorded this,
you would never have known.
We wouldn't have known this. The other truth is that this wouldn't be the first time. And these are things that happen in our villages, in our rural settings. You know, somebody is a witch, somebody is a thief, somebody is an outcast. There's something they call that, something is an outcast, you know, and they still do it.
Yeah.
So, Equiadente, the unfortunate incident involving Equiadente will bring up other issues for society to reconsider and to rethink. Because this is, you know, within the realms of spiritism or spiritual realm, where somebody is alleged to be a witch. I mean, witches practice witchcraft within the spiritual realm. That's my understanding. Unless the daytime witch, which are just stubborn people, you know. But the witchcraft that we hear about is a spiritual thing. And how do you legislate spiritual things? You know, it sounds like a simple situation, but I think it's more complex than we see. I mean, the condemnation is right. We have to condemn it because you cannot take another person's life, you know, at will. Even when the law permits you to do it, the law itself finds it difficult in executing it. So taking somebody's life is a no-no. But I'm saying that, look, today is witchcraft. Tomorrow there's something that is still in our traditional settings, in our villages, where they say that somebody is now an outcast of the village, is being banished from society. And you expect to know better. And when I say know better, I am actually referring to people who have seen or experienced formal education, who are enlightened, some PhD holders, you know, and they all perpetrate things like this. So the issue of witchcraft, for somebody to be stoned to death, is painful, it's unfortunate, it should be condemned, and the people involved should be punished. But punishing them by itself is not what is going to stop this.
No, what will stop this? And knowing that is part of our culture.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And talking about the fact that even educated people are on it.
The issue of the witchcraft is only one. It's only one. So there are the complexities of the structure of our traditional systems, which we need to interrogate, if you like, interrogate again, and the ones that we think are not complementary to our, the whole spirit of living together, nation building, we should be able to take them out.
But who determines that, especially in this case where we're told that in this case there was a mysterious fire that burnt an office or so, and they wanted to find out, they believe that it was a spiritual thing, so they brought this lady
that's what I'm saying, that,
into the
you see I don't know, my confusion with these things, okay, is that how come you are able to make a determination spiritually that somebody is so and so? If it is so and so and must not live, why don't you use spiritual means to kill the person? If you are powerful enough and you have used spiritual means to identify, as we say, catch the person, use the same spiritual means to kill the person. So why take the person through this ordeal in the full glare of everybody? I mean, to say that is bad is just repeating what everybody is saying. So that's why I want us to take it beyond this, that look, these things, they do exist in society in different forms, in different shapes. And the hypocrisy of Ghanaians. Today, this thing has happened in, what's the name of the place again? Kafaba. And we are all saying it. Tomorrow, this same thing will happen in another form.
Because we had the case of Major Mahama, where there was a lynching. And I mean, the circumstances are a bit different, but all to do with you did that.
It's the same principle of mob justice.
Yes.
The same principle. But even in the case of Major Mahama, society condemned it. They made efforts to find and punish, efforts which have failed.
Yeah, nobody has been punished.
Bad, but that's another thing. But I'm talking about, there are certain societies and groups in Ghana who are untouchables, who can get away with these things. So if we are serious as a nation, when these things happen, we should confront them. I mean, murder is murder, whether it's in a church or in a marketplace. All we know is murder. As for the circumstance, spiritual things will not be explained physically. So using spiritual things to justify some of these things, I think belongs to the 13th century.
Let's bring in Selam. Selam, how do we get those people in those areas to change their mindset, their reorientation, which is a difficult one because it's a cultural thing?
Yes, I mean, we've had cultural issues or practices in the past in different forms. But I think we must, what I hope is that the death of Ekuya Dente, however painful it's been, I hope that it becomes the point at which we'll begin to be bold to confront some of these practices in our societies. Because it is interesting that often it is a woman, usually of a certain age or within a certain age bracket, that are designated witches. Often they are very poor people. There are people, I mean, there are people who have no means, very little or few opportunities. These are the making or these are the class of people who normally suffer some of these things. So you ask yourself, is it that some of these accusations are levied against only poor people, women, quite uneducated, people like that? I think what we should start doing, of course, I must make the point that very educated people also do it. I think what we should be doing or looking at is to intensify education. Education is able to help people unlearn certain practices. Of course, very educated people are involved, but we need more people who are educated, who are better enlightened, who understand things better, to begin to confront this situation, to begin to raise issues and initiate conversations around these. So that's one. Number two, there should be enforcement of the law. Understand in the Kafaba area or in the Gonja, area, a lot of these things happen. And indeed, when this woman suffered this, unfortunate thing, we understand some 23 people others, 23 other people were
tortured over the same matter.
And it's so wrong to get somebody like that, torture the person just for the person to confess. Often some of these confessions are not even correct. The person wanting to be free or not wanting to endure the pain may confess if that's what will save the person. So it is wrong. There should be enforcement. I'm surprised that these things have happened many times in even that Kafaba area, and the police, who are supposed to be the law enforcement people there, could not find anything wrong with the things that were done.
Is it that they've accepted that?
Yes, that is the problem. So education hand in hand with law enforcement, because you can't if you beat somebody or you cause harm to somebody, it's a crime. You can't unlawfully inflict harm on somebody. You can only harm somebody if it is lawful. Surely this kind of infliction of harm is unlawful. So if for nothing at all, arrest the people or deal with the people in accordance with law. They've caused harm to people. I think for a number of times it happens and the police are proactive, they arrest people and they ensure they are sanctioned according to law. It may take some time, but when they are doing it, they will know that there's somebody looking, at them, wanting to punish them. I give the example of the female genital mutilation. It's also a cultural practice, but it's been outlawed. Still, people do it. Indeed, people still do it. But when they are doing it, they hide and do it because they know that, now there is enlightenment. People are educated now. People know that it is wrong. And when you do it, society or the law enforcement agencies will punish you. So I think that is where we should get with this, because we don't know who else may suffer this. We don't know who else may die. I was talking to a friend who was explaining to me how some of these things, some of these areas, very old people, sometimes they want to go and retire or die at home. So very old people in those areas, some of them have dementia in the night. Some could just stray, come to your compound, and if you are not lucky, you are caught. You are asked a few questions, you are not able to answer it properly. You are designated as.
But that even happened in Tema, I think 3 years or so.
So it is not just an issue in the northern part of Ghana. It is an issue we must look at, holistically, and ensure that we put in place structures to deal with them. I'm happy the gender minister was at the north, or was in the area.
She was there to this morning
today to look at the things for herself. I don't know how much of a difference she will make, but I think what she can do is to trigger or begin a conversation towards helping those people. We talk about the witches camp, etc. But the witches camp are not places that they are forced to go. They are places that they find as safe havens, places they go to find refuge. Because look at this one, for example. If she had a way of running away, maybe she would run away, but she would not be able to come back to the community because they would have done the same thing to her. So she would go and hide somewhere or find a place where she'd be accepted. So we did a report on the Kuku, Danango did a report on the Kuku witch camp. Out of about 800 people there, over 700 of them are female, very poor people. They have no facilities, they don't have potable, they have nothing. And they are just, and some of them have been there as far back as or since 1993, 94, just because their families and people in their communities have felt that they've been witches and they fear to go back. Because you closing down those camps right now, I don't think solves the situation or the problem. Because when they go back to their communities, they will be killed or something could happen to them. First of all, I think we need to sensitize people. We need more education on this. They need to know that it is wrong. It could happen to anybody. And there should be the threat of law enforcement, that when you do it, you will be punished. It may not be so easy because it is something that people believe in.
But after like a while, difficult task to do.
After a while, it's not something that can happen in a week or two or even a year. But once we are determined to confront it using education and law enforcement, I think in the long run, we will really get somewhere.
You think we'll be able to get bring the perpetrators to book, knowing, with our history and how the wheels of justice can grind slowly sometimes?
Yes, I mean, it's my hope that, of course, 5 people have been arraigned. I understand the chief was arrested too. I don't know if he's been granted bail or not. There is some process underway. We only hope that the 2 women we saw in the video, wherever they are, will be found and then punished. I don't know what charges will be brought against them. I don't know if it will be murder or manslaughter. I don't know
the one who was lashing.
The one was the
beautiful one. The beautiful one you're talking about.
The beautiful ones are not yet born.
Hajia Fellini.
You know, so unfortunate. And to find that these are women attacking, women because they claim they are witches is very, very sad. And Samuel made the point that of course, some churches also do that, but I think the difference is that in most of those churches, they may not beat them, but they pray for them.
They beat them. They actually beat them.
No, but not every church.
Most of the churches beat them.
Spiritual sense.
They tie them to stakes and all that.
No, that's the reality, but you can't say most of the churches.
I mean, those who are into those things.
Yeah, so I think the solution is not to beat or kill them. The solution is to pray for them. Pray if you are a religious person. Pray for their redemption. Pray that God forgives them, God delivers them from whatever it is that you think is there. And maybe it calls for all of us being fortified some way, somewhat. If you're a Christian, be sure that you stand firm in the faith so that when these attacks come, you're able to ward them off. Because you can't go to police station and say, this person is a witch and wants to kill me. How do you prove it? You can't really prove it. Because
even within the realms of, within the context of Christianity, how do you physically identify one as a witch? How do you do that?
No criteria.
I mean, in Christianity, no. I mean, when I see Christians chasing other Christians that they are witches, I laugh, and it's a pity. If there's what we call witchcraft activity, they're in a spiritual realm. And even God opening your eyes to see, it's not so that you attack the person physically. You get me?
Yeah.
So the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, and it means that they are not tangible, they are not physical. You won't see them. So this thing of exacting punishment at will should stop. And at times, it's not just punishment in terms of correcting somebody or letting somebody bear the brunt of their actions. At times, it's just a matter, a situation of, what's the word to use? Humiliating people. Look at what we used to have as Trokoshi. I don't know whether it's still there, but we've had to fight this over decades.
Yeah.
But it was met with serious resistance. Now, why were they resisted? Because they saw it as part of their character, part of their makeup, part of their traditions. And I remember in the late 80s, in the 90s, where it was led by Reverend Pimpong and his group from International Needs. I remember this very well. International Needs spent a whole lot chasing this Trokoshi thing. You understand? Because for me, it distorted society in a very bad way. And we still have traces of such practices. And I think that these things should be brought to the fore. You see, particularly to do with what we are witnessing. We down south are only seeing this like another Ghanaian movie. But there are members of parliament. There are policy makers. There are civil society groups. There are NGOs. There are very well educated Ghanaians who grew up in these areas, who are enlightened, who could have brought these things to the fore for society to reverse this archaic trend. But once they get into the urban areas, they forget where they have come from. And this is a bigger problem. Because, see, Vivian, you and I cannot go to Kafaba to go and solve the problem. If the people of Kafaba are not willing to let go of this kind of thing. Today, it's in the Savannah region. Tomorrow, it may be in the Central region or in the Volta region. It's part of Ghana. So I think there has to be a more deliberate effort.
Yeah.
The gender minister has acted right. She didn't just talk. She moved there, and watching her on television, you could see the passion and the seriousness with. But she can do so much. That's it. Beyond what she did today, I don't know what else she can do. If society is not prepared to renew our minds, to change some of these archaic cultural practices.
You see, the badness of the situation was even reflected in how there were people, young people, standing by, watching these two women beat or stone this old lady to death. They were immune to the suffering of the woman. And for me, that is at the height of it. Very young people, and some are even taking videos. Thankfully, somebody took a video the same way that happened in the George Floyd case. If it hadn't been that video, it would just be another story. But fortunately, because we have a video now, we are able to sit here and then condemn it and then talk about it and call for some reform in society. I strongly think that we can do it. We just have to be committed to it. We have to ensure that we improve education on some of these things, we challenge some of these things, we debate some of these things if possible, and that should go side by side with law enforcement. If we don't do that, then we will just maybe come and sit here another time and have another discussion about another case in another part of the country. It's very barbaric, and it must be condemned.
So you're watching what the papers are saying. When we come back, we'll look at the NDC's running mate. She had her first speech this week. Actually, she was officially outlawed. What do you think about that? We'll be back with that. Don't go away.
I came to Ghana in February 2015. I presented my credentials to President John Dramani Mahama on the 1st of April 2015.
That's my birthday.
You thought it was a Fool's Day, April Fool's Day. Is that so?
Yes.
That's historical.
Very. This tree was planted by Mr. Nelson Mandela, President of the African National Congress, ANC, and it was in 1991.
And they say when he died, this tree was green, this side. After he died, it became brown, like the tree itself was dying.
City TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. City TV, it's your world.
So welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kai. Look, I'm here with Samuel Tamensa and Selam Adonu. Prior to the break, we were talking about the lynching of the 90-year-old woman in Kafaba. We'll now move to the NDC because this week they officially outlawed the vice running mate, Professor Nana Jane Opopo Ajuman. So she had a speech, was adored, gave quite a speech, about 2 hours or more. Sometimes, were you able to listen to that speech?
Oh, I did.
Okay. Did she meet your expectations with that speech?
Of course. I actually didn't watch on TV. I listened on radio. So I think it was a well-delivered speech, by all standards. No two ways about that.
Okay. Shalom, your thoughts on that speech?
Yes, I think it was a good speech. I think it was great. It was refreshing. I watched it on TV and listened to it on radio at some point. I think the event too was quite well organized. Only that I felt at some point the speech was just a bit too long, and that the former president spoke. He said some important things, but I thought he spoke a bit too long.
And didn't that overshadow,
yes,
the outdooring
kind of. But again, as I thought about it, I mean, it's been a while since he had the attention of the nation in that sense. So once
you decided to have the attention.
Once you get it, you throw in a lot of things. But I think it was a great speech. It was very refreshing to hear. You didn't. It wasn't. I mean, it's been a while since we've had a high political figure speak without throwing, jabs at each other. I think it was quite a very refreshing speech, and I hope she continues engaging on those matters that she raised. Very, very, very important.
Would her bringing her on board, would it be a threat to the MPP?
Well, look, President Mills didn't insult anybody. So to say that it's been a while since it's not. President Mills, for his whole political career, I covered him, and I don't remember ever hearing President Mills attacking people. So it wouldn't be the first time. As to whether she will be a threat, I can't say. But if your question is whether she's a good pick, I can say 100% that she's a good pick. I mean, because how else does one qualify to be a running mate? You understand? Because she ticks all the boxes. There are no two ways about that. The rest is how to execute the mission or the mandate of wrestling power. And that cannot be captured in appearance nor in speech. It's on the ground. And so that's the next hurdle. And I think, to be fair to her, she's been given a good chance. She's had a good welcome, except for the very first
announcement.
The very first reaction from the MPP, which was led by Yababia Samwa.
When they announced her.
When they announced a press conference, which I thought was totally useless. Completely useless. It wasn't needed for that press conference, and that's not how you do politics, She was announced, it's okay. All you needed to do was to congratulate the opposition for, and then the rest, you can jab as you go along. But the press conference, say a lot of the things he said, the good things they said, the first two paragraphs he actually used to congratulate the woman, and nobody talked about it except where he went on to deal with the woman's record. But again, she's been chosen a good choice. With a lot yet to be seen.
Okay, Shalom.
Yes, whether she is a threat to the MPP or not, of course, time will tell. I don't know, but if the reception she's received, of course, from the NDC, because that's the NDC, and from people you may say are not really political and want, a fresh, air in our political space, if there's anything to go by, and the fact that, like someone said, the job is on the ground, if she's able to execute it well and doesn't get herself into any unnecessary controversy or difficulties, then I think she will be getting into a good place, But I think it's too early now. But what is important is that the goodwill is there. It's dependent on her to make the most out of it. But if the themes or the things she talked about in her maiden speech, or I don't know if that's called inaugural, maiden speech, is anything to go, or are going to be the fulcrum of her engagement with the people, then I think that would be great. The issue about values, the fact that you have a sense from the speech that she wants to get down to the value system, to reorganize our value system, motherhood, youthful, the youth, etc. If she's able to go along that path and she stays on message, I think she will do a lot of good to her party, because that appears to be like the youth, for example. I mean, I was listening to Bernard and Co. one of these days, recently, and we're talking about the fact that, we've had about 1 million 18-year-olds registering the EC's thing, according to EC data. And these people are people who did not even see Rawlings. They did not see election 2000, a lot of them. When Kufuor was president, a lot of them really, they don't know what was happening. So these people need to be engaged at a certain level. And if it is part of her plans, or part of the plans set out for her, to find a way of connecting with these people, I think that will bring a lot of votes, to her party. In
terms of pulling the youth on board.
Exactly the point.
Well, what about the middle class?
Well, the middle class, you see, I made a point when she was announced, I was on that program with Bernard, that it appears that her choice will seek to soften the ticket. And of course, I also made the point that the two parties really, these days, you have very little to choose from, because they have both come to the middle. Yeah. NDC used to be known as a violent party, and so the personality of Rawlings, they brought Koaka to soften it, bringing the educated, the intelligentsia, or the middle class people that arrangement didn't work well. Just when it was getting bad, what's the name? John Mills was brought to also.
No, I don't think so. I don't think the NDC was a violent party.
In terms of the Rawlings factor.
I mean,
not even that.
That's a label.
That's politics and propaganda. It's not fair to refer to the NDC, the political party NDC. I mean, you could associate some of those excesses with the PNDC.
Okay.
But the NDC as a party from '93, really, violence,
I think it has to do with the antecedents of the NDC.
That I agree.
And the baggage they carry from the revolutionary era.
Again,
so
but you see, the NDC has always had intellectuals. You see, this whole propaganda of they don't have intellectuals, we here shouldn't buy into those things. It's the same human beings we're in school with. We went to university with most of them, or you had a lot of them with your Kevas then. In Legon, you had a lot of them. We had them in KNUST, and we see them in MPP and in NDC. So it's the same people, But this thing of we have made a choice of Bawumia. So Bawumia, by the nature of his personality, should attract middle class. You and I know it doesn't work that way. It took Bawumia how many rounds for him to be able to garner the kind of support he did, even in his own backyard of the northern regions. He wasn't accepted immediately.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that, let's not be drawn into this thing of, they have chosen a woman, so all women will follow. It goes beyond that. And I'm sure they know that. I listened to bits of her interview on a radio station
in the
Central Region, where she tried to explain the role she played in the Muntie 3. You heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was listening, I was cringing. I was like, I don't know why she's answering. I mean, that's me talking, because this answer will not suffice. They are not looking for a genuine answer from you. No matter what you say, they'll still hold it against you. That's propaganda, that's politics.
But she may win a few people with the genuineness of the answer.
Well,
and she couldn't escape that question forever.
No, thank God you say may. As for may, it's everything you may. That's what I'm saying. That
so you're not convinced with the answer. You felt that answer.
But the answer is the answer. No matter what, I think it's the answer. No matter the answer, it will not erase that.
They will keep saying it. You understand?
Yeah.
And that's how it works. So I'm just hoping that she's prepared for these things, because you see, I think that is a very brutal theft. And it's not kind to kind people like and it's okay the way she's going, but there are more turbulent times ahead. That's politics for you. And just seeing her, a very honorable professor, with all the track record, you know, from University of Cape Coast and all the places that she's worked. I'm not so sure whether that's what makes a good politician. It's just what you know. So there's work to be done. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay.
That if indeed they want the votes to come, then they have to work harder, because it's not bread and butter.
What kind of things in terms of working?
Trying to caught the attention of people is not just showing up.
Yeah.
It is communication, and political communication is really direct communication, indirect communication, propaganda. In Africa, lying. Can she lie? She doesn't look like somebody who can lie.
The realities of it.
I'm telling you that it's tough, and I'm sure Auntie Nana, if you're watching, it's tough. That is tough, and we wish her well. You know, the Muntie thing is past and gone. People will still bring it up, but that's politics and groupthink. The moment you subscribe to it, no matter how intelligent you are, you'll be affected by groupthink. What the group thinks, it's likely to sway you in a particular direction, and more often than not, it may not be the best outcome, but because you subscribe to it, this is where you find yourself. And there's a lot more coming up, you know, along the line. I mean, she particularly didn't have such a rosy tenure as an education minister, particularly under John Mahama. Particularly under John Mahama. If you read Manasseh Abzure's book, The Fourth John, according to Manasseh, one of the reshuffles, her name had been removed. Actually, John Mahama was going to sack her, but for the intervention of Vice President Pakwesi Emisa Arthur. So it's not all that rosy. And I'm just saying, I mean, things happen in politics. So it's hard work and focus that will take them to the next level. But just showing up and ticking the boxes doesn't win anybody an election. Okay. And again, let's also recognize that this role of running mate over the years has become more pronounced. From where I sit, maybe through the Baumia ticket. I think the Baumia ticket is what has energized this role of vice president. Now, NDC in the past, maybe apart from President Mills and the Swedu Declaration, which was then controversial, from President Mills, we saw Mati Amidu. Mati Amidu became the running mate for President Mills. President Mills won. That's the First World War. Then the Second World War, 2004, we saw Ahmed Mumuni. You know, Ahmed Mumuni.
Mohammed.
Yeah, that's Ahmed Mumuni. Okay. And then after that, you know, on and on, then they changed and kept changing, and then John Mahama. It was without any controversy. You know. But the stakes are high now, and at times when I hear the communication, it looks as if they just found a flag bearer. I think that this is the magic. But and I ask, but how about your flag bearer? This is it. So let's also be minded that the picture on the ballot box is not going to be Nana Jenopo Kwajiman. So yes, she brings a lot to the table, but it still boils down to the flag bearer and what he has to offer.
But based on the Baumia, you know, thing where Baumia played a key role in pulling people on, you know, in voting for the MPP, has the game not changed in terms of the vice president? And then with
the game has
bringing
changed.
Nana on
the game
board,
has changed, but I have made that point that the game did not change because Baumia showed up. He didn't just change because he showed up. My name is Baumia. I'm middle class, so everybody come and vote. It requires hard work. That's all I'm saying. I have said it over and over that it would take hard work. And I don't know whether you disagree with that.
Okay, so we'll see how it pans out for her and then how the election turns out at the end of the day. But we'll be right back. We'll look at other issues. One to do with the Auditor General, who we're told was locked out of his office. Was that really the case, and what does that mean for him in that position? Don't go away.
Hundreds of entries from across Ghana, hundreds of talented young keyboardists, hundreds of keyboard prodigies working their fingers to become the ultimate keyboard idol. On the 1st of August 2020, gather your friends and families to find out which of the top 20 contestants will make it to the audition stage of the Keyboard Idol on City TV. Yes, you heard right. Keyboard Idol takes off on Saturday the 1st of August 2020 at 7 p.m. only on City TV. Tune in to City TV and follow the competition using the hashtag Keyboard Idol on all our social media platforms. Remember, this amazing talent competition, Keyboard Idol, is powered by City TV. Visit citytvonline.com for terms and conditions.
Welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kai. Look, I'm here with Samuel Tamensa and Selim Adonu. So, guys, let's move to the story to do with the Auditor General. Let me quickly read two stories. One to do with the Supreme Court striking out an injunction against the acting Auditor General, and another to do with the changing of locks of his office. So, quickly, the Supreme Court has struck out an injunction application seeking to stop the Deputy Auditor General Johnson Asiedu from acting as the Auditor General. The 7-member panel hearing the case struck out the application after lawyers for the plaintiffs reviewed their case. Now, the withdrawal of the injunction application followed a ruling that the acting Auditor General and the substantive one, whose names were listed as defendants to the suit, were not proper parties. Now, US-based lawyer Professor Stephen Kweku-Asare is in court challenging the President's directive for Daniel Domelevo, the substantive Auditor General, to proceed on leave. And then earlier this week, we had this story, which Joy has captured. They say the Auditor General was astonished to discover that the locks to his office had been changed when he went by on Tuesday afternoon to pick up some documents. Now, on his arrival at the premises, Daniel Domelevo noticed that he could not access his office because the locks had been changed on the instruction of the board. He said upon checking with them, the board could neither confirm nor deny given the instruction. Let me start.
Well, very interesting turn of events. I think that, you know, there's a reason why we have institutions. There's a concept called constitutionalism, where, you know, certain bodies are given powers by law or by constitution to hold certain public bodies like the executive, etc., in check. The Auditor General's office is one of those. So I just think that the way this particular matter regarding the Auditor General is being dealt with has not been the best. You know, there's this whole debate about right to leave, what it means, whether you can forfeit it or not, etc. You know, no matter where you stand on this debate, you know, I don't think it's proper to lock him out. The man is on leave. When you're on leave, it doesn't mean you are proscribed or banned from coming to the place. It doesn't mean you're on suspension. It doesn't mean you're on interdiction. It just means that go and rest.
Taking a rest, yeah.
So if I'm resting at home and maybe I left a book I want to read for my pleasure in my office because that was my office and I'm coming back for it, I think it's strange to have the whole office locked. So the fact that somebody is on leave doesn't mean that the one acting should necessarily go into his office, because there's a substantive Auditor General. So his office should be there. I don't get this whole thing about you locking him out. Why will you lock him out? So if he comes tomorrow to say he had something in his office and it's no more there, and so he's accusing somebody of taking it, what will it be? I just think that it's not been done quite well. Of course, you can find space in the law to do anything you want to do. But I think the signal it sends it's not very, very, very good. Of course, you may say the Malevo also runs to the media, you know, the least thing that happens, it runs to the media, etc. But I think big government or government could have handled this a bit better, so we avoid this back and forth regarding the office. I think the office shouldn't have been locked, and it appears that the chairman of the Audit Service Board, Professor Biajimandia, of course, they certainly are not in the best of terms. So it's like show of power. This man says the constitution gives me this power. It doesn't put me under the board. This person says we are the board. We are to supervise the work or regulate or do whatever. So some struggle for power. I think that this situation could have been handled better.
Okay.
You know, the signal is sent out there is not very good.
Okay. Someone's your thoughts on this matter?
You mean on the locking out?
We're locking.
No, I mean, the locking out from where we sit doesn't look good. The optics are very bad. The optics are very bad, but they must have a superior reason for locking him out. Otherwise, if he's locking out just because he's on leave, then that's a bit pedestrian. If the lockout is just because he's on leave, then that's too childish. If they are locking him out for another reason, which maybe of national security essence, or I mean, this person runs to the media, you know, with at the least provocation, and unless there's some reason which may not be known to us, but if what we have seen so far is what we should be talking about, then it doesn't look good.
Right. Well, then let's deal with the Supreme Court matter, the striking out against, you know, there's Professor Kwekwa Asare took the matter to court, challenging the president's directive. The Supreme Court threw that out. Salam, you want to take us through what really happened?
What happened was the fact that the people who were named in that particular rate or action, according to the Supreme Court, and I think I agree, are not supposed to be named in the action, because it's an action against the Attorney General, who is the principal legal officer of government. So in matters like this, you cite him as a defendant. So the Attorney General will come and defend the government or whatever. But to add the current person, the acting person, Mr. Sedu, to it, and one other person, I didn't think was necessary. So the Supreme Court was right, in my view, to strike that out. I think there was also an issue which arose about the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court and which particular jurisdiction they were invoking. If I heard right, there were people who thought that it was a human right matter. Others also thought that it was an interpretation matter. If it was an interpretation matter, which the other people are arguing was, then I think the Supreme Court is the only court with jurisdiction into those matters. But if it is a human rights matter, I don't know how it was couched, but there are two ways you can do. You can go to the High Court, Article 33 or so, if it concerns you, to go and vindicate your rights from there. I don't know. I've not read the documents or the processes to know exactly what they were looking for. But the Supreme Court, in my view, in striking those two names out, I think was appropriate. The Auditor General, the Attorney General would defend both of them, because it was not Mr. Sedu's private or personal thing he was doing. He was instructed by the board to take over, and that's what he has done. So I didn't see why he should be cited in the rates and things like that. For the other issues, I mean, we can be listening to what they are saying and reading more to really get to the bottom of it. But as it stands now, the matter is being struck out, and so the status quo remains.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Samuel Tamensa is with City FM and City TV, and Salam Adonu, head of features and articles here at City FM and City TV. When we come back, we have Vivian's View. Don't go away. Now, my view today is on the lynching of a 90-year-old woman in Kafaba in the Savannah region. The gruesome murder of 90-year-old Ekia Dente has not only shocked the nation, but has brought to fore some of our cultural beliefs that are archaic and barbaric, but are still in existence. My very good friends from the northern part of the country tell me what we saw in that video that went viral is not new and has been ongoing since time immemorial. The long existence of many witch camps in some parts of the country only reinforces their assertions. Now take this self-styled soothsayer, Fellini, in the video. She was actually invited by residents of the community to carry out that gruesome act. Her services are sought by communities, and even in Ekia Dente's case, may her soul rest in peace, we are told 22 other women were also beaten, with some currently receiving medical treatment. Is it not questionable that in most cases it is only women that are branded witches, and in cases where men are proclaimed as wizards, they are rather revered and worshipped and actually left off the hook? And don't be fooled, it is not just poor or uneducated people who believe and subscribe to these cultural beliefs, but also very exposed and educated people are also in on it. In this day and age, we still have people claiming to have identified a witch and having the nerve to flog, to stone, and kill her publicly. No, this must not happen. We must stop this barbaric act now. We will never know the total number of women and girls who have been killed under such circumstances to get justice for all of them. But we can, as a country, halt permanently this archaic barbaric act. It is good most well-meaning Ghanaians have condemned the act, but it is not good enough. We have to immediately decommission all witch camps and reintegrate the women back into society. One of the main reasons for the creation of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection is to protect the vulnerable, especially women and the aged. Thus, the ministry must ensure these women are protected. But the biggest hurdle we need to cross is changing the mindset of people who believe this act is right. There must be a deliberate reorientation for communities with such beliefs, and chiefs and elders, opinion leaders must all be roped into this to expunge such beliefs in our cultural settings. Perpetrators of the act must be arrested and punished to discourage and serve as a deterrent to others. Families of victims must let the law take its course and avoid settling such matters at home. This has been Vivian's View. My name is Vivian Kai Loco. Thank you for watching what the papers are saying. Goodbye.